line, Sheriff Miller by his side. Lively blue reds, hearts fly.
All right, time for Curry's Hot Stove League here on B1039. And subbing for Pat Curry this morning is Sheriff Brian Miller, who is a great host in his own right. So there you go. So Pat, it's in good hands. Good morning, sir.
Yep. We're missing him. We're missing him today. Fix some things here.
There we go. Yeah. Kind of everything here on the fly. So
There you go.
good deal.
All right.
I think we're good to go now.
Yeah, well, of course, we're missing Pat.
Yeah.
His insight, guidance. So today we have legendary Ferris State University, now retired coach Bob Daniels. Bob, 30 plus years at Ferris State as the head hockey coach, 500 plus wins. 2 CCHA Coach of the Years, 1 WCHA Coach of the Year. Just a pillar of the community, and somebody I think that our hockey community owes quite a bit to. I've known Bob a while now, and I think it's a privilege to do so. So in studio we have Bob Daniels, and I guess we have 2 guest hosts this week, 2 former players of Bob, 2 also pillars in the community, 2 individuals I think a lot of, Nick Scheibele and Joe Van Koolen. So welcome, everyone.
Well, Brian, thanks for having me, and it just shows you need 2 guest hosts to make up for Pat. I look at the 2, and obviously they both played for Ferris and for me, and very impressed with what they've done with their lives and their families, and it's just a reward to see. And it's nice that they're in the community, but to see how their lives have turned out, and I assume there's many of our past players whose lives are very similar, but very appreciative too that they have given back to the program, and they're president and vice president of the Blue Line Club, and it speaks volumes for what the Blue Line Club meant to them as players, but it speaks volumes to them as individuals that they're willing to give so much of their time, not only to the Blue Line Club, but to the kids in the area and in the community.
Well, that's where I think a lot of it starts in our community is the kids, and I think we're more fortunate than I think we believe than when it comes to having Ferris State hockey in our community like we do, to have a Division I hockey program that's had the success through the years, thanks to you, that we do. I don't know if, sometimes I think maybe we take that for granted, and to have the arena we do is for our kids, thanks to, the program is huge. The other places we go, and I'm like, cold kind of maybe run down a little bit, and then you come to our place and it's bright and good seating and in my opinion warm, or somewhat cool, which is probably the best benefit of it. So
well, I agree, and a beneficiary myself of the arena and the community, and that my son played hockey up through Baraja and the high school team, and both my girls figure skated. So it was interesting back in the day, though. I know these guys feel that way because their kids are at the rink a lot now. But back in the day, I coached all day, and then I'd be at the rink all night with my kids and their activities. I'm like, I spend way more time here than I do at home. But what a great place to spend that time. I always felt that Big Rapids was just such a tight-knit community. I still feel that way today. It made it super, super easy to be here for as many years as I have been. And when I talk about the Big Rapids community, I don't differentiate between that and the university.
Right.
The 2 are so tightly, you know that, Brian. They're just tied at the hip. And I think everyone's come or has the realization that what's good for Big Rapids is good for Ferris. What's good for Ferris is good for Big Rapids, and it's a great marriage.
Right. Well, let's start. I mean, the show's about you right now, so I like to. What's important is coaching and your time here, but I think just as important to me sometimes is the person you are, how you got to be here, where you came up, and prior to coming to Ferris. And so if we could maybe talk a little bit about that, and then coming to Ferris, your time here, and because I think. Sure, your career is important, but who you are as a person is more important to, and that's a direct result of why you are the coach you are.
Well, I grew up in Livonia, a suburb of Detroit, and played youth hockey. My dad was very involved in hockey, and his father, which it's hard to believe, but he coached youth hockey in the Detroit area. So we're going back to the early 1900s,
Wow.
where it certainly wasn't indoor arenas. My dad worked at Olympia, which is where the Red Wings used to play. He was the penalty timekeeper for the Red Wings. So I was exposed to hockey, from day one. Spent a lot of time at Olympia watching the games. My dad would take me to the game when he had to work to get me out of my mom's hair. And, from there, ended up going to Michigan State as a walk-on. Upon graduation, worked for Merrill Lynch as an accountant. Got my degree in accounting, worked 3 years at the Renaissance Center down in Detroit. Not many people know that. Was not very good at it because I was also coaching what's called junior hockey.
Right.
So it's 17 to 20-year-olds in the Detroit area. And those jobs nowadays are full-time jobs. Back then, they were just part-time. You did them at night. So I spent a great deal of time on Merrill Lynch's dime working on hockey for the team. Then I got a really big break. And Mark Kaufman, our one assistant right now, was really helpful to me in getting it. He was a graduate assistant at Miami of Ohio. He left. And there was an opening, and he kind of paved the way for me to get the job there. And I acted as the second assistant at Miami for 1 year while I worked on my master's degree. And then opening came at Illinois, Chicago. I was married at the time. My wife and I uprooted, went to UIC, and I was there a few years when the job opened here at Ferris. Bob Mancini, for those that remember, Bob
Yep.
left. Yeah, he left Ferris to take a job with Quebec Nordiques. And so I came on the interview, and my wife and I stayed at State Park in Ludington. And I showered in the public state park, put my suit on, and drove over. Interesting. And I immediately wanted to work here. I did not like Chicago. Even though I grew up in Livonia, I was much more inclined to want to be in northern Michigan. I just love it. I always had as a kid. And, I came for the interview, said, geez, if I get this job, I'll take it. And John Perpich, head coach, hired me and took the job. And the interesting thing, when we first moved to town, my wife really didn't like it, because she grew up in Redford. She loved Chicago, my late wife. Right. And anyways, it wasn't until we started having kids. We started having children, and she got immersed in the community. And then I couldn't get her out of here. She absolutely fell in love with Big Rapids.
I think that's where it starts. I mean, Nick's a hometown boy, but, Joe coming from Minnesota, I think, I'm born and raised in Jackson, came to Ferris and didn't leave. And there's no other place you want to raise your family than in Big Rapids and Mecosta County as a whole. I think there's just something about this small hometown, so I can relate.
Yeah, I thought it was great. A little known fact now, our first house that we owned in Big Rapids was right around the corner from the Shively residence.
Okay.
Yeah, so Nick was a little kid, when I was living there, and had to yell at him, get off my lawn. No.
Little Clint Eastwood there?
Yeah. I think people still do with Nick. But no, it was great. And that just shows you how small the community is, and it's tight-knit, and but yet it's big enough with the university to offer so much. And like the public schools here are terrific.
Right.
I mean, absolutely top-notch public schools. And then, 2 of the 3 of my children went to Ferris and received great education there, doing really well in life. So, you know, it's just the longer you're here, the more you appreciate it.
Right. So I guess you guys are co-hosts. So maybe get a little bit about yourself. Those that don't know
Get
you,
right up on the mic.
and I don't know who wouldn't know you guys, but a little bit about yourself and your time here with Bob, and what it meant to you.
Yeah, so this is Joe Van Kulen, originally from Minnesota. Coach Daniels gave me an opportunity to come play college hockey. It was a dream of mine for my entire life, and one of the best times. Coach is such a great mentor for us, and just such a great guy that we're really close friends now, and he gave us, like I said, he gave us the opportunity to come here. The minute I got on campus, I just loved the community. I loved the small town feel. And more importantly, I loved the guys on the team. Coach recruits great individuals that are great young men, and that they're your best friends for the rest of your lives. And, I went on a lot of other recruiting visits, and I didn't feel that way. And obviously, this is one of the best decisions I ever made. Coming here, I got to meet my wife who was playing volleyball here. We moved away for a little while, and we had to come back. We told each other this was one of the top places we wanted to live if we weren't going to live in our hometown. And immediately when we got the opportunity to come back here for work, we just got involved with the community like you've been talking about, and like Coach has, and that's something that Coach instilled with us when we were here. We were always out in the community, made great friends. I mean, there's people from this town that were in my wedding 16, almost 17 years ago. So, but no, I mean, Coach, I owe a lot to Coach, and he's been just such an awesome individual, and just such a great mentor for not only myself but all the other players that he's coached. And you can see it, the traditions that he's started that are still going today, that are strong, that you don't see in college hockey or any other sports. I mean, there's a lot of teams at the university trying to mimic what Coach has done, and I think that's just a great testament to the man that he is. And again, I can't be more thankful to be here and be friends and do everything that we can and raise my kids in this community.
That's what you talk about, the tradition. This golf outing this coming summer, I mean, it's going to be nuts. I mean, you guys always get a lot of people back for the golf outing in the first place, but to have, you retire this year, I can't imagine how many, alumni or former players are going to be able to come back with their families, and it's just going to be nuts, I would think.
Well, don't mean to cut you off, Nick, but I really
That's
look
not
forward.
Pat's seat, so you're all right.
It happens before, huh? No, I look forward to it too, because now I don't have to be prim and proper. I can let what little hair I have left, I can let that down and have a good time with the guys.
Well, it's interesting. We'll be talking about it later today. We have in our Blue Line Club meeting. We're going to have to figure out if Khaki's going to be big enough for all the people. I mean, I ran into 4 alumni last night alone down in GR, and they were all just pumped to come back. And we talked about Friday night, where we're going to have a big banquet and reunion, not reunion, but reception for Coach. And so that should be cool. The university's putting that on. Really looking forward to it, and looking forward to seeing all the guys, but really celebrating Coach.
It's fun, you talk about alumni. So my son plays in the high school hockey team, and back in December we played Lumen Christi, my former high school, and there were 4 guys that I went to high school with that came up, who had kids on the Lumen Christi team, and I got a chance to see them. One of them was Eric Evans.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm sure you got some stories. So do I. But one of them was Eric Evans, who he graduated a couple of years behind me, and his brother was a year behind me, Darren. But him coming back and just how excited he was to be there, watching his son, but to be there and getting a chance. He saw Tim and talked to Tim for quite a bit, and just that close knitness of hockey. And out of all the sports, and we've talked about this before with maybe Nick and Joe, all the sports my kid plays, that hockey is probably the most close knit when it comes to a family atmosphere. I think more so than you'll find in any other sport.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you spend so much time together. It's one of those seasons that never end, but for the benefit of you wish it never did. So, but yeah, the tight knit community in a hockey community is just different than other sports, and it's hard to explain or describe to most people that aren't inside it. But it just is. You become, super close, and the kids become good friends. They just, I think you spend so much time together. It's hard not to.
I agree. You go to the rink early when you have children, and they've got to be there at least a half hour. Damn coaches.
It's an hour now.
Well,
It's an hour.
Depends on who's bringing
We got to
it.
stretch. We got to stretch.
Okay, so you got to be there at least an hour, and then you watch the game, and you're waiting at least a half hour for your, And my son was always the last out of the locker room.
Oh, yours too?
It's surprising how everybody feels their child's the last one out of the locker room. But so you have nothing to do but talk, and not only to the parents on your team, but the parents on the other team, and inevitably you know someone that they know, and it's like a cult-like community. Even though hockey's growing and growing, you spend so much time at the rink and drinking bad coffee and trying to stay warm. It brings everyone together.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. Both my boys were a part of a new organization this year, and the parent, like every rink we went to, I knew somebody at the rink, and I'd go and be talking to them, and the parents, like a week ago, the parents are like, somebody at every ice arena we go to. I'm like, I think I've been to all those ice. You go to enough ice arenas for long enough, people. And that's one of the things that even my wife talks about is just how close the hockey community comes, and especially the longer you play. When you play so long and around it so long, I mean, you can't go to a rink and not know somebody or have known somebody, and so and that's just another one of those things that makes it as good as it is.
So, 32 years or 30?
33.
33
coach,
years.
3 years prior to that as assistant.
So 33 years. I never like to ask people, what's your favorite team? Because I don't think you have a favorite team. I think every team has.
There is one right answer.
Yeah. Well, two. Yeah. Sorry, guys. But what's a team, I guess, that was memorable to you in that 33 years? Maybe because of the makeup of it. Maybe they, exceeded expectations, or just because maybe they caused you some headaches.
Well, the one that comes to mind, all of the above. It was my first couple of years here with Val Passarelli, Jeff Blashill, Dwight Parrish, the Surgott brothers, and Scotty Bell. And they're still, I'm very close with those guys. They, that very first year we went to Joe Louis and knocked off Michigan State in the CCHA playoffs. What a great group of guys. But honest to God, I couldn't have coached a team like that for 33 years, because every Monday it seemed like I had a phone call from somebody either on campus or with public safety.
So when Jeff Blash was coach at the Red Wings, he had the opportunity to give law enforcement officers a chance to come down because of his dad's experience and such for free. So I took my older boy down one time, and we're down there, and he's like, "Yeah, I think you stopped me when I was here in college," and I'm like, "Yeah, I might have. I don't remember, but yeah." He goes, "Yeah, I think you did."
Yeah, I think you probably did.
What about so you talk about headache, that group, and not being able to do it. I know Eric Evans' group was a little bit of a wild group too, if I remember right, back in the early 2000s maybe, or not maybe early 2000s, maybe it was
late 90s.
Late 90s, yeah. Eric's group.
Well, Eric, I don't know if he told you this, but he got the nickname Timmy Davis.
No.
Okay, so we kind of know him. You guys probably do too, as Timmy Davis. And the way that came about was I don't remember doing it. Eric was playing on the club team at the time, and we needed a forward. He was good friends with a lot of players on the team, and the guys came up to me and said, "Hey, there's a guy on the club team who's pretty darn good and a great guy, and he'd fit in. We could use another forward." So I said, "Okay, bring him." He brought him to practice. He didn't look out of place, and obviously we kept him. But I guess somewhere along the line in the first few days, I started calling him Timmy on the ice. I don't know why. And so then he became, the guys would call him Timmy. And later I go like, why are they calling him Timmy? And that's because that's what you called him. So then his very first game, they're announcing the starting lineup. So he finally, he cracked the lineup he's going to dress. And they introduced him as Eric Davis. So from that point on, he became Timmy Davis. And, but what a great person he is. And that was a fun team. And then, I've got Nick sitting here, but was it 02-03 that what a great team that was. And you talk about a team that kind of came out of nowhere. It shouldn't have, but it did. Won the CCHA title.
Right.
And to this day, I think they could have won a national title. And the way it worked out back in the day is, teams would host in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Now we play at neutral sites. Well, we got a terrible draw. We got we got sent to Minnesota. So the first game there in the regionals, we played North Dakota, powerhouse in hockey, beat them 5-2, and we beat them. I mean, it was a good thumping. And then the next night, though, we had to turn around and face Minnesota on their home ice, which was an Olympic sheet, and we really didn't play an Olympic sheet all year. And so, they ended up beating us and winning the national title, but. Number one, I think we were the top two teams in the country that year, us and Minnesota. And it was a shame that we had to play them in that first round at their rink. I think if we get to the Frozen Four, play them on a neutral site, NHL sheet, we may have won. So I'm on that NCAA Ice Hockey Committee now, and there's still talk of moving these games back to on campus in the first round, and I'm adamant against it because of that experience. I don't know, Nick, do you remember... how that went down?
The game specifically, or just that season?
Just the season.
I don't remember a whole. No, I think it was one. I mean, that year, Joe hit on it earlier. I mean, I think you come to campus; these guys are your best friends. The 5 years I was here, I extended my time, which was great. We're just unbelievable. Every year it was special for different reasons, and the group of guys were awesome. That one, when you have that much success, it's hard not to have a lot of fun. And I would say that group, as hard as we played on the ice, we probably played just as hard off it, and that's what it was a lot of fun. I mean, whether it was a softball game or bowling or practice or the game. That there was 100% effort at all times, and sometimes it created tension in the group that was quickly taken care of. But it was just a ton. I mean, it was always fun. It was always fun to be around. We had one of the best things probably was the great leadership that year as well. Kunitz is the one that everybody remembers, but I mean, Troy Milam was probably one of the best captains I ever played for, just in his demeanor and the way that he played the game, but the way that he commanded a locker room or just a room in general, was super important that year to us. So, that one was, obviously a good one.
I agree with you. I think that was a perfect mixture of kids. Yeah. Back then, the saying was, if you can't beat them in the alley, you're not going to beat them on the ice. And that was a team that could beat you in the alley. They were a rough and tumble group. We led the country in penalty minutes. It was an interesting group of kids. But we needed a group like that. I mean, we were in with Michigan State, Notre Dame, Ohio State. We're in our conference at that point. And for us to break through and win a league title, you had to have an outfit like that, and it was just the perfect combination. And I think that was a team that future teams said, "Hey, we can do it too." So once you cracked it once, that was the team that led the way.
I think too, there was no egos on that team. When I came on my recruiting visit, the season was just finishing, and there wasn't a single ego. That's what really turned me on to say, man, these guys just were number one in the country for most of the year, and they're all just great dudes. Nobody nobody had their nose in the air. Everybody was just in it together, and that's where success is really made.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yep. Then obviously the was 11-12 team that that was a team that kind of really came out of nowhere though, and it wasn't until 3/4 of the way through the season I'm like, hey, we actually have a chance to win the league here again, and it's just again the right confluence of players. We didn't have a Kunitz, but we had a Chad Billings, you know.
Well, that team, I think, you know, I followed hockey, but wasn't really big into hockey because I didn't play it and just never got into it until my kids did. And so that time was a pretty special time. I remember being out in California for spring break and watching the national championship game, and thinking how cool it was to be watch the national championship game on TV out in California, and to see you. And at that point, Andy Huff was on the team, and Andy, I think his family that he was with was Al and Sandy Miller. Ambassador. It was Al and Sandy Miller, if I remember right, because we're close with them, and that's how we got to be close with Andy. And my older son wears 18 to this day because of Andy.
How about
that? I mean, so he
tell him to dream bigger there, man.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, you know, so we still are. We'll talk to Andy and, you know, his wife, and to this day, you know. And but again, my kid 18 because that's what Andy's number was, and so, you know, that pretty special.
Yeah, it was a very special group, and I do agree with Nick. He could dream a little bit.
Well, Andy always had a pretty good time, though.
Oh,
I was
Andy.
going to say, was it ever a serious conversation?
I love Andy.
Andy was a defenseman, though, and
He's the best, yeah.
I think between 02 and 03 and that 11-12 team, like that's where, like in that group, you know, we were lucky enough to be here, you know, after that time. But that's where, like, you'd be in an airport somewhere or on vacation somewhere, and people would be talking about Bulldog hockey. Like, I mean, that's when it really started to get on the map. I think after those couple of years, you could be anywhere and it'd be like, oh, Ferris, they've got a great hockey program, right? I mean, that's, you know, so that's where I think, you know, the map really started to broaden as far as, you know,
for Ferris athletics.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I mean, you look at, you know, the hockey program is kind of, I mean, the precursor to the basketball and now, you know, and football. I mean, the last 20 years, you know, Ferris has been put on the map, initially started by the hockey program.
It was funny when at your reception there before the last home weekend, Tony got up, and I didn't even connect those dots, but Tony got up and said when Ferris hired him, his first 3 months on campus was when you guys went to the Frozen Four that year, and he's like, I'm outside, you know, wishing the bus good luck, and he said that set the tone for the expectations for me in the football program. And so that was I didn't connect that timing dots. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it was certainly special. And then 14, we went back to the tournament, and again in 16. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up this year's team. What a great group of guys. I really enjoyed this season a lot. And knowing going into it, they didn't know, but I knew going into it would be my last year. And I couldn't have picked a better group. And I can see the makings again of something special happening. If the day and age of the portal is a problem. But if we can keep these kids together, I know they're in the process right now of interviewing candidates for the job. And I know Steve and Dr. Pink are going to bring in someone really, really good. And that's what we're imparting to the players. We want to keep them together because I think there's some real possibilities for this team. And you could even see it at the beginning of the year, this past season. I thought we were playing some of our best hockey in the last 5 years. And we weren't getting rewarded for it. Then all of a sudden, the second half of the year, I think in conference, it was us and St. Thomas were the two hottest teams going into the playoffs. And it was just bad that it fell that we had to play each other in that first round. And it wouldn't surprise me to see St. Thomas win the whole thing. That's how good of hockey they were playing. But I know we were really close to turning the corner. And if this group can stay together, I have high hopes for the next season.
Good.
Yeah, it is a great group of kids. You know, Nick and I have talked about it, and, you know, we've been around it, at least me, for the last 7 years. And this group was the tightest knit group, I think, in the last 7 years that I've been back here in Big Rapids. And not that the other groups weren't, but this group was just different. This group reminded me a lot of when we were in school and interacting a lot more with the community and just wanting to be out in the community. They're always helping with the youth hockey, but they're also going above and beyond that. They're out in the community. They're good representatives of Ferris State, and it's been fun watching them. And yeah, Coach, I couldn't agree more with what you're saying.
Yeah, it reminds me of your groups. It really does. Good kids.
Well, I got a little piece of paper here that says break when you get a chance. So
we gotta pay for all this decadence.
Yeah. So we'll take a break and then come back.
And we thank our sponsors, Zott's Bar and Grill, and also Big Rapids Tire. Back with more of the Hot Stove League. When was the last time you checked your tires? At Big Rapids Tire, they know how important it is to keep your ride smooth, safe, and reliable. Whether you're cruising down the highway or navigating tough weather, a fresh set of tires ensures you're ready for anything. Their expert team will help you find the perfect tires for your car and get you back on the road with confidence. Brakes, alignments, struts, and shocks, they do those as well. Don't wait for a blowout or worse. Visit Big Rapids Tire for unbeatable prices, quality, and peace of mind. Big Rapids Tire, Northland Drive, just north of town. Come say cheers at Zott's Bar and Grill in Big Rapids. Great food, great prices, and great people, where everybody knows your name. Zott's, people's choice for best soup. You don't want to miss their award-winning burgers and chili as well. Originally opened in 1933 and serving it up ever since. Seasonal beers on tap. Located at 732 North State Street in Big Rapids. Roxanne and Doug at Zott's Bar and Grill are proud sponsors of the Signature Player of the Week for the Curries Hot Stove League every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m.
All right. Welcome back. Well, today we have Bob Daniels, just recently retired Ferris State University hockey coach, along with two of his former players, Nick Shively and Joe Van Koolen. Let's get back to you guys and your experiences. Joe, what stands out to you during your time playing for Bob on the hockey team? What's I guess a specific memory that you have?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I'll just reiterate just the type of guy that he is, and the mentor and the leader. He's just down to earth. He's not ever afraid to talk to people or talk to you, and especially as a player, he's basically your dad away from home, right? And he's your leader. He's somebody you look up to, and again, couldn't be more thankful of that. But I'll never forget one. Well, there's probably a couple stories, but I'll never forget going to Notre Dame. Was I think my sophomore year. I think they were number 5 in the country, and our backup goalie had been suspended for a game, and we had Tommy Mueller was our third string goalie, and we had to pull Brownie, and coach was reluctant. And I remember sitting on the bench because Brownie took a slap shot off the shoulder, and it gave him a concussion, or he broke his collarbone or something. He had to miss a couple games.
Yeah, he ended up in the hospital.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. And Tommy's on the bench right behind me, and I'm like, Tommy, you got to stretch out, like you're going in. He goes, there's no way coach has put me in. Brownie can't. He will not. His heart has to stop in order for me. Like, he doesn't care. He can be out there with a broken arm. He's not putting me in. I'm like, no, you better start stretching. And I look over, and coach is furious. Tommy, get out there and stretch. Tommy goes out and literally just puts a leg out and just bends down. Coach is just getting madder and madder. Tommy goes in. First puck gets dumped in the corner. Tommy's in the corner stick handling. They got guys flying down on him. And I think maybe this was my freshman year. But and coach is screaming at him, stay in the net, stay in the net. Next puck gets dumped in, does the same thing. I think we blocked 30 or 40 shots that day. We had captains and guys diving face first in front of pucks so they weren't getting shot. And but no, I mean, coach just is, obviously he's meant the world. He's, just such a great person. And obviously, that's why he's here for as long as he has. He's touched so many lives, and not only just the hockey players, but their families. And he knows the kids, and he's not afraid to talk to them. And but everybody in the community, obviously. So, yeah, it's just been a pleasure to know him.
I have a memory of Joe. I do, and a good memory. But I remember going in the locker room, first game he plays, and it's between the first and second period. And you walk in, you usually give the guys 5-10 minutes. It's 15-minute break, so you give them 5 minutes or so to calm down. Coaches talk, and then you go in with any adjustments you want to make. And I look over, and there's Joe sitting in his stall with his helmet on still. And obviously everyone takes their helmet off. A lot of guys will take their shoulder pads and jersey off and cool off a little. There's Joe, gloves on, stick in his hand, helmet on still. And I'm like, what gives with that? And then it just became normal to me. Like, that's how Joe is. He's doesn't want to check out of the game. And but that was the first time I'd ever seen anyone do that.
Yeah. My dad used to threaten to beat the crap out of me because he told me I was never good enough to take my stuff off until I made it to the NHL. Well, obviously I didn't make it to the NHL, so I take it off now in men's league. But
well, you gotta have a way to get the beer.
So I'm not so hard on my kids,
right,
I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Nick, what about you?
Oh, like Coach said, I mean, I grew up in the same neighborhood, so for me it was. One of the earliest. I started working hockey schools with Ferris hockey when I was 16. So it used to be where some of the high school guys would come in and help out as camp counselors with the hockey team. So I was 16, and Coach hired me, and we're at the first meeting. He goes, "I'm going to put you with one of the older guys, just to make sure." And he puts me with Jeff Blashill. So I'm 16. Jeff's I don't know. He's probably a senior at that point in time, and he was. Well, I think you mentioned you might pull him over on campus, so he wasn't the calmest of people. So it was, it was entertaining every day. I think he thought he was putting me with maybe a mentor type person, and it was that for sure.
I apologize.
No, but it's Coach, just that stuff like Joe talked about. Coach giving an opportunity for for some of the younger guys to be around the program. We got to skate at nights and stuff like that, and so I always appreciated those opportunities and just being able to be around the program from a younger age, and then obviously taking a chance on a local kid that was questionable for sure. So no, I've always appreciated the opportunity. I love playing here and love playing for Coach, and just that ability to be a part of his program and to be able to follow that, and again, like Joe's already mentioned, now to be great friends and be able to to joke around, but be able to support each other and different things is just been awesome.
One thing that comes to mind is the percentage or the high percentage of kids that have played Big Rapids hockey as youth and have gone on to play Division I hockey. If you look, Mike Moss and Nick Shibley and Cody Chupp, and you've got the Chase boys, Josh and Jeremy.
Yep.
There was a lot of kids that have come out of Big Rapids and gone on to play it at pretty darn high levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were actually, so I'm in a group text with some fathers that are on the varsity hockey team, and one of them gave us shot out a text yesterday to a group of us about the private schools compared to public schools that have won state championships over the last 20 years, and the discrepancy, in the two, and just what can we do different, or what can the state do different, MHSA, and that the money thing always kind of comes back up, and just because I look at our hockey team, and Joe's one of the coaches, and just I think it's a pretty good special group of kids that have all come up together that you'd like to see them have some success.
I agree, and I don't know. I haven't done enough homework in the high school, but what comes to mind is maybe almost a split divisions, because it is inherently unfair when one group can actively go out and recruit and the other group can't, and so it's kind of apples and oranges at that point.
And you've seen that in football, I think, more predominantly, or at least it's gotten more publicity, or it's more out there. But now that your son's playing hockey, you look and go, yeah, it's that way in hockey too when it comes to the parochial private schools compared to the public.
Well, you look at the Big Rapids High School, though. My observation is the hockey team's done, over the years very well.
Yes.
In all the sports, the golf teams, football's doing well now. So, Big Rapids, produces a lot of good athletes. I can say that.
And it's not about, I guess, it's the experience. I think we need to remember, I think as a society, sometimes we try to push things, and, it's in the end, what you want is your child to have the best experience they can, and that it makes them, important people or people in the community that others can rely on. And I think that's what the important thing is we need to remember that.
Well, I think it's mission accomplished. Certainly with Nick and Joe, you look at two guys, and you always hope that the players. I mean, only a handful are going to be in the National Hockey League, and the rest are going to play some levels of minor pro, but then have to get on with life. And you hope wherever they put the roots down that they can contribute to their community. And I look at Nick and Joe, and I'm like, oh my God, mission accomplished. They're so involved in the community, and they're giving back to youth sports, whether it's baseball or hockey. And in a day and age when it's harder and harder to get parents to get involved in coaching or officiating, to see two guys jump in feet first and donate their time, it's heartwarming.
Well, and that's what I look at with these two. That's a good segue, because that was one of my, next things I wanted to kind of talk about is both of these two and the impact that they've made on kids in our community when it comes to coaching, and what they took from you and what they're using as a result of having you as a coach in their coaching styles now.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just we want to raise really good individuals. We want to raise kids that are going to be successful with where they go next, right? It's not always about winning or losing, but we just want to raise good human beings that are respectful to everybody, and that's how Coach runs his program. Obviously we're a little more focused at the college level about winning, but he still leads with caring about how we carry ourselves out in the community, how we're looked at. We're representing the university. I tell all my kids, like, whatever that's on the front, I hate nameplates, and that's my biggest pet peeve in youth sports is everybody has to have their names on stuff. And for me, it's all about you're representing what's on the front. Yeah, you're representing your name, but you're representing what's on the front of your jersey or shirt or hat, whatever it is. And my job as a coach is really to make you a better individual as well as a better athlete. And for me, that's what matters, and that's exactly how we were coached by Coach. And that's the one thing probably that I try to emulate Coach on probably the most.
And that I look at my profession in law enforcement. I can tell those people that are in law enforcement that didn't play team sports when they were younger. It's very obvious to me. Those that have played team sports buy in more to that team mentality that I like to have at our law enforcement agency. But coming up, I can point those people out. Oh, you didn't play team sports, just because sometimes of maybe deficiencies that I think they might have when it comes to working together.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe hit on most of that stuff. I mean, that's exactly right. It's the most important parts. Obviously you're there to help kids improve their hockey skills, but I think when you when you go through the handshake line, you look in the guys in the face and you're giving them a good fist bump, you're shaking the coach's hand, you're respectful to the referees, you're not going to do anything that puts a bad light on your team, and that's been a focus in making sure that that's addressed, right when it happens, if it happens. But most of them know that it doesn't happen. And those are the super important parts. I mean, teaching the game the right way is a really important part, making sure that our kids move the puck, make sure they move their feet. All those things are the obvious things, I think, to most. But, the other part of it, there are, just like in any sport, there are hockey organizations that are led by not the right people, by the way that they act on the ice, and that was always super important, is to not be that. You want to make sure that you're a respected team, that the coaches have nothing but good things to say about you, that the other team's players have to respect what you're doing, and I think that those are the most important pieces. And for kids, it's hard, right? I mean, those are hard things to learn how to lose or to learn how to win gracefully on both sides, and to make sure that you're shaking hands, and to react to adversity or respond to adversity. Those are tough. Those are hard for adults.
Right.
You see it every day. We see it every day. It's hard on adults, and so teaching kids that stuff is super important. And like Joe mentioned, I mean, those were important things that Coach Daniels stressed on us as well.
So, let's see, just a couple weeks into being retired, what are your, I guess, plans over the next year? And then have you looked down the road at all?
Well, my wife and I bought a condominium last summer down in Florida. So we did that, and we leased it out this past winter, obviously. So our plans are to, next year, not till January, go down for a few months in the winter. It's interesting. I've had this conversation with a number of people, and I think what I'll do is just take a few months here in the summer. And things really haven't changed a lot. I'm still going into the office. I've got, believe it or not, a lot of expense reporting to do. All the things I didn't want to do
business
during
aspect
the
of
season.
things.
And I just put it away in a drawer, and I open that drawer up. I'm like, ugh. So I've got some work, some things to finish up there, and I'm on the men's Division I ice hockey committee, and I'll be involved in the regionals and Frozen Four, and then meetings down in Florida, later in early May. So it's really hasn't been a difference between any other year and this year. Maybe, obviously, the pressure's off. This time of the year, I would have been knee deep into recruiting and that sort of thing, and so it's a lighter load. But then, so I think it'll probably be sometime in June when it'll really hit me. It's going to be August. It's going to be the welcome picnic, guys returning to campus, and the season's right around the corner, and the adrenaline starts to flow. I think that's when it'll hit me. But in terms of my own future, I'm fortunate. Obviously Ferris has treated me very well. I'm fortunate that and I have a great financial person, by the way. Unbelievable financial advisor.
You too?
Yeah. And Nick Shively.
Yeah.
And actually I have a great accountant too, and Derek Graham, who played for us in the 11-12 team. So between Derek and Nick, I'm pretty sure they could rob me blind. But no, but what I want to do is just kind of wait and see. There might be something down the road for me still yet in hockey. Right. Whether it be scouting in the NHL or who knows, maybe something in a conference administrative type role. I don't know. I'll just kind of wait and see. It'll be more out of a love for the game than it would be, any other reason. Or it might be the fact that my wife just doesn't want me around that much.
It's funny. I always go back to my grandfather was a detective down at Jackson Police Department before I was born, and then retired. And went home and found that him and Grandma couldn't get along because they weren't used to being around each other all the time. So we went back to work as a bailiff in the probate court down in Jackson, and
Yeah.
So
I can see something like that happening.
You'll get away from her for a while. You'll be doing a ton of golfing.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't call that out. We're gonna have to go play him a bunch.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I play golf quite a bit with Nick and Joe, and looking forward to the day when they finally beat me.
It's that rear view mirror. Yeah.
I do have a story about. I think we could tell it. One time when we were golfing as a group, and Ben Muma went down, and really, if it wasn't for Joe, we all pitched in with CPR. But Joe Van Kulen did thank God he was young and in great shape, and he's still young and in great shape. But, Coach Bronkema, the basketball coach here at Ferris, and a bunch of us started CPR. It was Joe, though, that was young enough to keep it going. And it turned out against all odds, very successful. So that's another case
Yeah.
where you've got a past player, and you say, "Oh my God!" You know,
We're
so
coming up
proud
on 4
of him.
years from almost. Yeah, it was not nearly 4 years ago now.
Yeah, probably 4 years.
Yeah, and to see Ben, still around the not just the rink, but the
Equipment manager.
yeah,
still, that's great.
yeah, just amazing.
What made me think of that is when Ben retired.
And then came back.
And came back. And I think Jan Muma, Ben's wife, had something to do with it. She's like, "Ben, get out of the house."
Right.
So he came back, and we're glad to have him back.
But that keeps you young.
Yeah.
I mean, just being active, and
Oh, he's a legend. He is,
Yeah.
and he comes off as really cranky with the current players, but they all know he's a big teddy bear. I mean, but he's been the same way. You guys got better stories about him than I do, but he's too much.
Yeah, well, there's lots of stories.
So, what's for a young coach coming up, a piece of advice? And I'll start with, and then we'll kind of finish with you, Joe. You guys both been coaching for a little bit, but what's your advice for young coaches that are coming up when it comes to working with youth or sports players?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just reiterate just the biggest thing about what you should be doing as a coach is making really good individuals. You should push them. At the end of the day, you want these kids to be successful, whether that's on the ice, on the field, but more importantly, you want them to be successful off the ice or off the field, or whatever sport you're playing in. And that's the biggest thing is, listen to the kids and if they're struggling with something, you're there to help, and but don't be afraid to push them. Make them uncomfortable, because at the end of the day, like, they're going to go to a job that they're not going to like all the time, and they need to be able to deal with that, and your job is to mentor them through that, and because at the end of the day, not everybody likes every single thing they do all the time, and if they can face a little adversity, and you can help them through that, like, I think that's super critical for success down the road. Yeah.
Yeah, I think lucky enough to be married to a teacher, and so coaching and teaching take on a similar path there. And one of the things Melissa, still says that I continue to work on is, with a kid, you have to, as crazy as it sounds, you have to earn their trust first, right? I mean, you have to show them that you love them, that you care about them, that you're there to do the right thing for them, and then they trust you, right? I mean, kids, they still need to trust you and know that you've got their best interest at heart. So I think building that relationship, and then you can do the hard coaching, right? I mean, you can teach them the right way, and sometimes it's going to be tough conversations, but making sure that they know that you really care about them. I mean, you care about them as people. I mean, like Joe's mentioned a whole bunch, like, these are, our kids' friends, or, the people that are going to be next, in our world. And so we need to, you need to know that they need to know that you love them and that you care about them and that you're here to do the right thing for them. And then you also need to make sure they understand when they're not doing something right, and that, that they're held accountable and all those things. But I think making sure they know you love them first.
You say that, because it's amazing when kids or players buy into that coach, what they're willing to do for that coach. Yeah. You may have just maybe a marginal team at that time, but they exceed those expectations because they're willing to go, I guess, for lack of a better term, balls out, or
right.
all in for you.
Yeah.
And they're gonna put forth that effort, and I think that says a lot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, I've got two answers for you. One deals with collegiate coaching or coaching at that type of level. And I think what advice I would give to someone getting into that is the ability to divorce yourself from the results of games when you're home. And it's hard to do. It's 24/7 type job. You're always thinking about it. But for me, Sundays were always really important. Occasionally, even I'd be on the road recruiting, but I try to be home as much as I could on Sundays. And regardless, if we won or lost, around the home, I wanted it to be just me. and not my emotions of how the weekend went. And then I could be, if we lost, I could be grumpy Bob on Monday, and if we won, I could be happy Bob on Monday. But for youth hockey coaches or youth coaches in general, I learned a lot from my father. He coached at a very high level. He coached a team called the Junior Red Wings, and he coached like midget AAA back in the day, and very successful. And then when my younger brother came around, he decided he was going to coach. Thank God he never coached me, by the way. But he probably didn't want to coach me either. But he coached my younger brother in Squirt House League. And I was like, I wonder how my dad's going to do with this, because he was used to coaching at such a high level, and he was fantastic. And one of the things I learned from him, in that regard, was he graded his success as a coach of youth by how many signed up and played again the next year. And
Yeah.
So it was different. He wanted all the things that Joe and Nick said. He wanted them to know he cared, and he would coach them hard for House League. But the most important thing for him is he wanted them to love the game and want to come back and play again the next year.
And that's what's nice is, you talk about Little League or whatever, coaching Rocket football, and it's always pretty rewarding when, they say, hey, here's the group of kids that parents requested you as a coach.
Yep.
Because, I mean, how you treated the kids and, what they learned and what they brought home.
Yeah.
And then I use that example of you leaving coaching, one thing, and I don't think I do it well in my own profession. I think sometimes I maybe take my work home with me more than I should. Yeah. And so, but my dad would always say, Grandpa was the Detective Jackson. He never brought his work home. Whenever Grandpa came through the door, he was dad, not, a police officer. And so that's, something that I always remember of my dad saying about my grandfather.
Easier said than done.
Right.
It's a good way to try to be, I think, regardless of the profession. Yeah.
But you talk about Sundays. Yeah, Sundays is kind of my day to, go to mass or church and decompress and do that and put the other things to the side and make sure you are spending time with your family and being there with one another.
And selfishly, I think it's good for the individual, so you don't miss out on life while you're chasing whatever profession you're chasing.
Right.
I mean, we all get caught up in what we're doing, and sometimes you forget there's a lot of life outside of what you're doing.
Right. So, outside of golf and beating these guys in golf, what other interests do you have that you're looking forward to maybe spending some more time with?
Sure. Well, I live on a lake now. And I've got
there you go. That's a good start.
Pontoon boat, which is perfect for me now. It's interesting. I bought one with a 90 horse on the back. That's oxymoron. A lot of engine on a pontoon. But I don't think I've ever got it beyond like one knot. I just putz right around. I love doing that. Fishing. Like the road bike. I haven't done that much in the last few years. I want to get back into that. Got to thank Boots Panetta for getting me involved in that. But I really do enjoy it. I really need to get my rear end on that bike and going this summer. I like to read, and and then there's some catching up to do. I haven't seen, my mom's still alive and living in Livonia, and there's going to be hopefully more time now to maybe go down for like 4 or 5 days and spend some time with her.
Okay.
I didn't like it, but I'm coming, Mom.
Well, as we're coming up on that hour mark, is there anything that Joe, Nick, you guys can add as we close out the hour?
No, I mean, I think one of the biggest things is just thanking you, Coach Daniels, for all that you've done, not only for Bulldog hockey, which is the obvious part, but Big Rapids and our community in general. And one of the things that we announced to Coach last summer, but one of the things we're doing to recognize Coach and what he's done in his family is naming the playground structure at Hemlock Park the Daniels family.
That is awesome.
Playground. And so we're raising funds for that. But I mean, I think one of the biggest things is that that push for community We always redid the wood chips or freshened up the playscape or whatever was
Paint,
always an
lot of
important
paint.
lot of paint, and that was always an important part. And so I just thank you for leading those charges. The hockey part's the obvious part, but all the other stuff it was great.
Well, my late wife Leslie, I owe her a lot, and she was really the spearhead of that playground. And I
forgot
her
about
and
that.
Pat Klarecki. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Yeah. So, here's the woman that went from not liking living here to loving living here and being very much a part of the community. And so, yeah, our teams went and did it, and we helped maintain it over the years. But I had no choice. And since I had no choice,
We
the
didn't
guys
have
had
no choice.
Right.
No, and I'll just echo. I'm just so thankful. One, for the relationship that we have, for all the opportunity that you've given us. Not just myself, but former players, coaches. And all the leadership and mentoring that you've done. But again, I just so thankful for the person you are out in the community as well, and the great representative that you are for Bulldog hockey, or just hockey in general, not just in this community or this state, but really nationally. You're regarded as just one of the best guys in hockey, and just so thankful to be able to play for you and the opportunity to play, but also just know you on a different level and be friends, and look forward to that continuing, and obviously wish you nothing but the best of luck.
I think that retirement video that was put together says it all. Looking at all the past players and coaches, friends that came through, you watch that video and brings a tear to your eye. Just think, this is the impact that you made on these people's lives. One thing I did forget to mention is the ambassador families. We talked about that. I don't know if that is something that kind of came, started with the hockey program here or otherwise. But I think the impact that has had on the program and the close-knitness that comes with the community in the hockey program, I think that the ambassador family has just been huge. I mean, I know we were, and we'll probably get back into it, but we were for a couple players, Lucas and Max Finner, and to this day we still have more of a relationship with Lucas, but that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that ambassador family.
No, that's been a great program, and it was one. I can't remember if I inherited it or it was, part of what I was started coaching here. But it's been around for 30-some years now, and the relationship between the players and the community. It's interesting. Early on, we took some heat from the athletic department, and rightfully so. It was borderline like NCAA rules, extra benefit for meals and that sort of thing. And then, I always knew deep down these guys weren't getting any money. I mean, it was so beneficial to everyone, and so whatever we had to do to keep that thing going, and then. Now all of a sudden you've got NIL money, and I'm thinking to myself, God, these guys would get a hamburger. We had a self-report on it. It's like, you got to be kidding. But it's one of the things you say, hey, we're doing the right thing. It's great for the players because it teaches them to get out, go into someone's home that they don't know, sit down, have a meal, learn to converse.
Right.
And I think I look at, whether it's Mike Hughes and Justin DiMartino and the closeness these people have years after. And one thing that I always wanted I could never know the guys on a different level. As the coach, you've got to have a little bit of a barrier there. But this past weekend, I had 3 of the guys come up during break. They were here on campus. So what are you guys doing? Nothing. Well, come on to my house. Let's have dinner. I think they were taken back by that. But, that's something I've always wanted to do, but has never been able to do. And I enjoyed the heck out of that night, and so did my wife. She's like, why didn't we do this more often? I'm like, I couldn't.
Right.
Because if you do that, then inevitably people would say, well, it must be your favorite. I'm like, no, they were the 3 that were around.
Right. Well, my favorite ambassador story is shortly after we got Lucas. We had him over for dinner one night, and Heather and I are cleaning up in the kitchen, and Cameron, Cooper, and Lucas had all gone in the living room. It was kind of quiet out there, and so I'm like, huh. So I step out in the living room, and they're watching Toy Story, and and Cooper's sitting there playing with Lucas's ear, and it's just strange, but just Cooper being Cooper, and Lucas just kind of, and Lucas was always very quiet until you got him on the ice.
Yes.
But just kind of one of my favorite memories is just the three boys sitting there watching Toy Story together. I say boys, but three boys sitting watching Toy Story together.
Well, yeah. I mean, you forget that they're still young too,
right?
And you watch them play, and that's not an unusual story. I don't think. I really don't.
Just
They
kind of that memory.
That coming to my house. My house, my kids had them downstairs playing shinny or knee hockey nonstop, and sometimes I think they worked out harder in that than maybe they did in practice because my girls wouldn't let them get off the hook very easy. So there's plenty of times where I had to run and grab an extra shirt for them or something because they sweated through their shirt. And but that's just the type of players that coach recruited, like guys that want to be out in the community and want to build them relationships. And Nick, you're the same way. Your kids.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. It's sometimes you never know, you don't want to keep them longer than they want to be. They're college kids, right? But they're never in a rush to get out your door. They're always, hey, let's go down, like Joe said, let's go downstairs, let's go up, whatever, play video games, shoot the pucks, whatever. So no, it's been awesome, going from being a part of it,
absolutely,
and going over to community members' house to now being on the other side of it and having them come over and and being able to hang around our kids. It's having two boys that play hockey and two girls that play hockey, and for you guys, the boys that play, to have them around those those types of mentors and guys that are just doing it the right way it's great. It's it's an awesome program.
So, Coach, thank you. You're appreciated more, I think, than you know. And it's a loss to us as the program, but we know you'll still be around. You'll still be there, and thank you for everything you've done for Ferris State, the hockey program, but I think more importantly, it's the community as a whole.
Well, thank you for having me on first, and second, I want to echo those sentiments the other way. Feel very fortunate to have been part of this community. I really do, and I'd like to thank you're sitting here right now, and Pat Curry, but all the people that have really made me feel very much at home here in Big Rapids, and I can't thank the community enough. And just thanks for the opportunity to say those things out loud and on the air.
Well, and Pat, I know if you're listening.
He's listening.
Yeah, yep. We miss you, and sorry I grabbed Bob and didn't have you here. So.
And I want to thank Pat for putting me on the back end of a horse too.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
that's a memory I'll never forget.
Well, Nick, you've done that.
Yeah.
Joe, I have
working on it.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Bob. Thank you, and God bless, and we'll see everybody next Wednesday.
Come say cheers at Zott's Bar and Grill in Big Rapids. Great food, great prices, and great people, where everybody knows your name. Zott's, people's choice for best soup. You don't want to miss their award-winning burgers and chili as well. Originally opened in 1933 and serving it up ever since. Seasonal beers on tap. Located at 732 North State Street in Big Rapids. Roxanne and Doug at Zott's Bar and Grill are proud sponsors of the Signature Player of the Week for the Curries Hot Stove League every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. When was the last time you checked your tires? At Big Rapids Tire, they know how important it is to keep your ride smooth, safe, and reliable. Whether you're cruising down the highway or navigating tough weather, a fresh set of tires ensures you're ready for anything. Their expert team will help you find the perfect tires for your car and get you back on the road with confidence. Brakes, alignments, struts, and shocks, they do those as well. Don't wait for a blowout, or worse, visit Big Rapids Tire for unbeatable prices, quality, and peace of mind. Big Rapids Tire, Northland Drive, just north of town.
Wednesday morning sun is rising, and bright talking strong. High school stories.